Between deforestation, climate change, and hunting, bear populations across the world are threatened by human encroachment. With this brief presentation, our group aims to educate you on the ongoing bear conservation dilemma.
So Jack, where are we going?
Well, right now we're on our way to meet with the leading bear expert in the state of Massachusetts.
Hello, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, man. Nice to meet you.
When trying to understand the bear, you should first start with the bear species. There are 8 species. There's the North American black bear, the brown bear, polar bear, Asiatic black bear, Andean bear, panda bear, sloth bear, and then there's the sun bear. Now, out of these 8 species, currently, only 6 are, 6 are endangered and 6 are threatened with extinction. And currently the only 2 that are not threatened with extinction are the black bear, the American black bear, and the brown bear. And they're safe for now. And there have been many efforts put in place to protect these 2 bear species in North America. Now, the bear species that have been native to Asia and South America, they're in desperate need of protection. These bears, such as the panda bear, Asiatic black bear, the Andean bear, they're really struggling right now, and they really need our help. One way to help is through conservation, and one of the best, most memorable ways of conservation was Smokey the bear. Although even Smokey was generally used for wildfire awareness and to stop forest fires, but he does a good job, him being a bear, of bringing awareness to the entire world population, but more specifically in the United States, about the problems that currently face bears.
So, Professor, what exactly is a bear?
Well, I'm glad you asked. This is my specialty, of course. Well, bears are any species that belong to the family Ursidae. Now, bears are caniforms, which means they're dog-like, as I know they don't really look like dogs, but they look more like dogs than cats, obviously. So they're caniforms, and they're large mammals who have large skulls, and they're typically characterized by their big size and their 4 stocky, big, strong, limbs. They have small tails, and they have little round ears. I'm sure you've seen a bear, so I'm sure you understand what it looks like and what it does. But yes, bears, they're very important in everyday life and everything. And so yeah, it is important to understand what they are before you attempt to understand how they interact with the world.
Unfortunately, Professor Barrington wasn't able to discuss the topic with us for much longer. We decided to meet up with another well-known bear expert right here in College Park. Dr. Bear has studied the decline in bear populations extensively over the past decade and is the leading researcher in bear history and endangerment.
Welcome.
Hey! So, Dr. Bear, can you tell us why bears are so important?
That's a really interesting question. Bears help maintain ecosystems across the world as apex predators. And if we lose these apex predators, then we have catastrophic consequences on the food chain and the ecosystem as a whole. On top of that, bears have important ecological, religious, and cultural significance throughout society. Bears have been a part of pop culture for an insane amount of time. Just think about the bears that we've thought about growing up. Bears have been everywhere, from myths to movies to books to sports and so much more. Bears have had an impact on society as we know it today. Bears have also had a lot of religious significance. Some Native American tribes would worship bears, say they're descending from the gods, and they would be powerful divine beings that would help them through their trials. Even pre-Christian Europe also had bears in a lot of significance associated with them.
We read on your blog about the disappearance of bears in the greater College Park area. Can you tell us more about this?
Well, I can't disclose any of that information just yet, but bears have been going missing forever. Just think about logging, agriculture, road building, and other human-led activities have led to severe habitat loss for several species, specifically also bear species. Just think about pandas in China, for example. They need to continuously eat all this bamboo to survive, and yet 75% of the bamboo found in the mentioned mountains are being used for medicinal purposes in China. Along with tourism, And regular bamboo harvesting, pandas are running out of their food, and they're dying of starvation and other energy-required needs. Meanwhile, in the United States, the black bear population suffer largely from architectural projects and other human-led activities that go into deforestation, such as logging businesses.
You mentioned a few bear species currently at risk. Can you speak more about the problem polar bears are currently facing?
I'm actually really glad you asked, because polar bears are facing more habitat loss and food scarcity than ever before. They're great swimmers, but they need ice to hunt, and not even the fastest polar bear could outswim a seal.
We looked into the topic more, and we found this heart-wrenching video.
She's far from the great glaciers where ice floes bring seals. But she struggles on. It's not until she hauls herself out of the water that I see what state she's in. She's tired, emaciated, and must find food quickly. Her fat reserves hardly protect her now from the cold. And from my own solitary vantage point, the full horror and reason for her predicament becomes clear. First, she started the summer too thin, and unlike her brother, was unable to hunt effectively. Then, the ice disappeared completely this year, even though we're in the heart of the Arctic. Though some bears are clearly more equal than others, I'm convinced she would have fared better under normal conditions. She must hold out one more month. Sadly, I think it's too much to hope for. Does her fate mirror the future of the entire species? Can polar bears, so long masters of the ice, somehow adapt to the forces of global warming that are changing their environment faster than anyone could have imagined? At the rate at which the Arctic is melting, partly because of too much human pollution, polar bears cannot afford to wait for the answer.
From the video we just showed, it's certainly clear that climate change has largely influenced the habitat loss of polar bears. Astonishingly enough, this footage was actually taken 4 years ago, and since then the melting season in the Arctic has started earlier and earlier in the year, with the Siberian heat wave of 2020 causing record low sea ice coverage. Even so, a myriad of myths regarding polar bear population expansion within the past 50 years has caused many of us to overlook their vulnerability. All things considered, it's much easier to estimate polar bear numbers today than it was in the 1960s, and while population estimates clash, one thing is clear: polar bear habitat loss is an alarming threat to the species. We met with an anonymous bear poacher who had some insight on how big game hunting has influenced bear populations in the past.
Well, I've been hunting for about 7 years now. I've heard bears have been hunted to almost extinction in certain parts of the world. But at the end of the day, they're just animals and we're at the top of the food chain. Half the time we can't even tell the sex of the bear before we hunt it. So when female bears get killed, they can't even nurse their cubs. Now, back in colonial days, bears would roam all across North America. But since then, they've been secluded to certain states more and more. In just the past century, unregulated trapping made bears easy targets for mammal pieces, so they were almost completely gone before laws were placed for their protection. In California, what was once land-flown with bears is now a barren landscape, as the California grizzly was hunted to extinction. I know that outside of North America, bears are hunted, captured, or sold as well.
We followed up and found some more information on the bear trade. According to poachingfacts.com, approximately 20,000 bears were illegally captured and sold to consumers in top bear bile farming countries in China, Japan, South Korea, and Vietnam. We decided to go to the forest with Dr. Bear to see if we could spot any bears in the greater College Park region.
Wait. What was that?
Hey, it's me again. While the crew tries to figure out their bear-related technical difficulties, I'd like to take the time to go through a quick check for understanding. Now that we have introduced you guys to the prominent dangers that bear populations face, I'd like to take the time to get into groups and discuss some potential solutions for each issue. What can humans do on a political or individual scale to help their local bear populations from declining? Go ahead and get into breakout rooms and discuss. Great. Now that you're back, take the time to answer these quick questions.
As we conclude our lesson, it's important that we recognize the influence bears have on our world, along with the multitude of challenges they face today. We hope that with this presentation, you have learned a lot more about bears, the problems they face, and how to help them.